Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Nuff channel. In this video we're going to do the tops, chops, traps and slaps for NRL Fantasy in round 10 of the 2024 NRL season. So for those that are new to the channel, how it works is for those trading options that we think are a good idea, we give them the tops. For trade out options that we think are good, we give them the chop. For trading options that we're not too sure on, we consider them to be a bit of a trap. And for trade out options that we don't think are a good idea, we need to give ourselves a slap. Excuse me, tickle in the throat. So as usual, we'll kick off with the hookers. So starting with the tops pick, and we're going Jeremy Marshall King. So a bit of a broken record here. I've talked about him a bit this season. But the reality is there's not a strong sort of shout for, pick me at the hooker position. So I think, we're looking forward to the origin period, and I think Marshall King offers the best sort of coverage. Reed Marnie's another good option, but I guess the difference is the Bulldogs play Penrith this week. So if I had to pick one of them this week to bring in, it would be Marshall King. On the chopping block this week, we've gone with Brandon Smith. So break even of 63, 519k obviously isn't the best value to trade out of. However, I think he's carrying a bit of an injury. So I guess we'll just wait for his form to reverse. Hopefully in time for round 13, we can get on and use him and score some points. But I guess, until then, I'm happy to let him go. The trap this week, I've gone with Jake Simpkin. So this, I guess when I sort of did the initial research for this, it was before team lists. Api Coruscant's back in, which is why I've got him as the slap this week. But people may see the low break even and the fact that he's playing and think, oh, okay, that's good value. It's only good value if Api Coruscant's not playing. If you look at his scoring outside of last week, it's pretty dismal. Just because he's coming on at the back end of the game and playing a few minutes, and usually Coruscant's still on the field. So, I wouldn't bring in Simpkins. I wouldn't trade out Api Coruscant either, given that he is back in this week. I guess some people might be thinking, well, he's a good chance to play for New South Wales, so, get out of the pick before he loses value. But New South Wales do have a few options, so it'll be interesting to see which way Madge Maguire goes with that. But there is a chance that if Api Coruscant misses, then he offers. He doesn't play round 13, but after that he'll play every other round if he's not playing Origin. So definitely one to keep an eye out on, Api Coruscant. In the middles, so I've gone for a bit of value as my top pick this week, and I've gone with Thomas McKaylee. So obviously nice and cheap at 289k, break even of 9, which is nice, but I guess as well we're predicting he'll be really good cover for Origin, particularly given you'd imagine Nanai, Ruben Cotter, should be featuring for Queensland. Maybe even Reece Robson for New South Wales. So obviously that'll create, a lot of minutes in the forward rotation. And from the brief bit of evidence we've seen from McKaylee, both in the trials when he was really hyped up in the preseason, but the last couple of games that he's come in and played, he looks like he can offer us that nice bit of coverage. So I think, if you're looking for a cheap option this week, that Tom McKaylee could be a nice little way to go. On the chopping block, I've gone with Cam Murray. So obviously out for an extended period with injury, particularly at 726k, you really can't afford to carry that. If anything, we were looking to trade him out during the Origin period. I think this just made this process a bit easier by being able to get out of him now. The trap, I've gone with Ruben Cotter. So obviously did really well last week. We talked about the Cowboys cover 13, 14, but he is one of the players that's playing Origin. And the Cowboys do have a really nice run coming up of games. They've got the Titans, Souths, the Tigers, the next three. But that sort of screams to me the type of games where they might rest someone like Ruben Cotter, reduce his minutes. Particularly, they've got a pretty forward heavy bench this week. Um, so I'd imagine, that there could be a case for resting Cotter a bit. And then also, because he goes so hard in the Origin arena, his back end of seasons are usually a bit underwhelming. He usually offers the most value at the start of the season. So for that reason, I don't think he's worth trading in. And the slap this week, I've gone with Sam Hughes. So it has been a slow burn, admittedly, but without doing anything too crazy, he's made us 150k, which is really valuable. Still has money to make, as you can see, with a break even of 9. Will cover, um, really well through the Origin period, given the Bulldogs, buys around 15, 19. Um, so yeah, I think if you've got Sam Hughes, you just hold him, get that last bit of cash out of him, get that value in the Origin rounds, and then you can move on from there. On the edge, I've gone with Angus Crichton despite the hefty price tag. I guess as a non-owner, it is just ruining me that I haven't got him. Probably the reason why I'm sitting at 20k overall is I've missed out on all that value and the points that he's generated. But I think he's still got more in the tank. So for that reason, I'm happy to trade him in this week still, and probably am looking to do that. We'll obviously confirm that in the round preview tomorrow if you're watching this on Wednesday when it comes out. So yeah, I think there's still time to bring in Angus Crichton. On the chopping block, I've gone with Corey Waddell. So a few people bought him in as a cheap option, playing 80 minutes. You know, I think he jagged a couple of tries one week, and everyone thought they were a genius. But other than that, he hasn't really done a lot. Ben Travojevic is back this week, so gets at least one more week. It'll be interesting to see how they play it once Olaquatu's back in the team. But I think I'd be happy to get out of Corey Waddell at this point. The trap this week, I've gone with John Bateman. He was actually on my top pick before team list came out Tuesday afternoon, and he's been moved back to the edge. So he's been the last two games he's played lock forward and absolutely carved up. Scoring points for fun, super coach points that is. Sorry, fantasy points. Talking about the wrong format. Um, but yeah, moving back to the edge, got Isaiah Papali'i moving to lock, so maybe there's an opportunity there. But we like Bateman playing lock, so he was one I was definitely targeting, and might have even bought in this week as a bit of a differential. But I think now I'm going to have to pay up to get Angus. And the slap, bit in line with the previous one. I've gone with Josh Curran, so can't understand why people are trading him out. 620k is not ridiculously expensive. It's not like you're making a lot of money out of trading him. He covers middle and edge, which is super handy. He's going to cover a lot of the Origin buy rounds, which is also super handy. You know, so I'd hang on to Curran. Even if it was to get to Crichton, I'd probably try and find another avenue. In the halves, so I guess at the time of recording, I'm recording this on Tuesday night. But Dion Taupua or Taupu, I still didn't look how to pronounce that name. Probably think it's Taupu. Apologies if it's not. Someone will let me know. But he's not in the game at this point. But he will come in. He's got the poison chalice that is the number 7 jersey at South at the moment. But with Ilias out, Dean Hawkins gone down for a while. Even Dry Gray could have potentially slotted in there, but he's also out for quite a few weeks. So I can't really see any challenges to the job. I sort of predicted Jack White might sort of make a return into the halves, but they've kept him out in the centres for the time being. So I think based on that, we just have to take it that it's his job. So he might not set the world on fire with his scoring. But at 230k, good job security, you know, we'll take that. On the chopping block, I've gone with Adam Reynolds. So I guess talking about South players getting injured, not that he plays there anymore, but South Sydney legend Adam Reynolds out with a bicep injury. So they have also named a debutant halfback, Josh Rogers, who apparently has been tearing up in the Queensland Cup for Wynnum. However, Jock Madden doesn't seem like he's that far away, so there's not as much job security, which is why I've gone for the Souths option over the Broncos option there. The trap this week, I've gone with Ethan Sanders. So, the numbers look good, 340k, still got, single digit break even. However, Mitchell Moses isn't that far away. And I think, if we wanted the Eels cheapies, we really want them to also cover around 13 and 14, which I don't think Ethan Sanders will quite get there based on what I've seen um, updates about Moses' recovery. So, um, yeah, if you want a cheap half, you've got the option there. Taupu, I'd steer clear of Ethan Sanders, as good as he's looked as a footy player. And the slab this week, I've gone with Jerome Hughes. So looks like he's just out for 1 week. So if you've got him in your team, part of the reason is for the round 13 by coverage, around 13 14, I should say. Um, so yeah, I'd hold. He should be back next week, particularly given they've got no Pezzett, they've got no Pappenhausen. Um, they're pretty thin in the spine at the moment. Obviously, Cam Munster going to play Origin isn't going to help. So it is really going to be on Jerome Hughes to carry that team through that period. Harry Grant as well will be missing from that spine. So they really do need Hughes. So I think this is just precautionary. Don't overdo it. And when we really need him during Origin, he's ready to go. Into the centres, and the top trade in this week is Blaze Talangi. So has got the gig there at the Eels at fullback, given Gutherson has gone and had surgery. From all reports, that is his position. He is a fullback. They sort of expect him to take over from Gutherson when the time comes. So we do get to see a little preview of that now. So unfortunate for those of us that traded him out after his sort of debut and his little run at 5/8. But I think it's probably worth another two trades. You've got to trade him in, playing fullback, and then obviously, try to trade him out once Gutherson's back, because you imagine he might sort of drift back out of the team, hopefully with a bit of extra value next to his name that we can use elsewhere. On the chopping block, I've gone with Jesse Arthurs. So hasn't really changed in price despite being there all season in an attacking team. Um, So yeah, he's out injured for a good amount of time. So an easy chop there. The Trump, I've just gone back to the well again with Joe Manu. Um, obviously the numbers look good, but he is quite expensive. And I guess we can probably get him in a few weeks' time when he starts actually playing fullback, covering for James Tedesco. So I think, if you do need a centre or even a wing fullback, there's cheaper options that offer more value. Obviously, they might not offer the upside of points that Joey Manu does on a weekly basis. But yeah, I just see it as quite expensive for what you're getting at the moment. And the slap, and I probably wouldn't even say this is a strong shout, but Ethan Strange, on the buy this week, so his price isn't going to drop any. His break even's not that bad in fantasy. It's probably a lot worse in Supercoach. But also, that they might use that extra week to sort of reconfigure the halves combo with KO Weeks. In the trials, it was Ethan Strange that was the dominant half, and then the last couple of weeks, it's gone back to weeks. But they might be able to sort of reconfigure it back to the old system, and potentially that could work better for the Raiders. So if you've got him and you can, I'd suggest holding. I did trade last week, so I wouldn't begrudge anyone who did trade him. if you wanted to trade to Talangi, I'd be all for that. Big tick from me. But I think, I had to put someone there, so he was my pick. And the wing fullback, so the tops pick, I've gone with Scott Drinkwater. So I guess this is a bit of a flyer type option, given that the next three games they've got good opposition. Um, obviously the high upside stuff that we love in Supercoach doesn't always translate to fantasy. But I mean, if someone's going to, score a big 100 in Supercoach, it's probably going to be a nice, 70 plus score in fantasy. So it's all relative. Um, I think, if you've got the money to upgrade from Pappenhausen, it's a it's a pretty easy sort of shout um, to go that way. But yeah, Drinkwater I think is the best pick. Speaking of Pappenhausen, I've got him on the chopping block. Another long term injury, so another easy get out. Um, KO Weeks is my trap for this week. Um, so people trading him in, I guess they're looking at the break even, going, "Oh, I want a piece of that. I need to, get a player for Pappenhausen. Can bank a couple 100K. Just wait a week. He could have a training ground accident. Don't want to wish anything bad on any of these players, but you know, this crazier stuff has happened, and you end up basically being stuck with a player who hasn't offered you any value to the side. It could potentially cost you two trades for absolutely no return. So I wouldn't trade in weeks this week. Just wait till next week. Um, you know, with Pappenhausen, I mean, if you trade to a Drinkwater, I guess Lungo as well is probably, could have featured here as well. Probably should have featured here now that I think about it. But, I guess, yeah. Well, yeah. So probably if you want to downgrade, go Lungo. I should have added him in. And the slap this week, I've gone with Jack Bostock. Um, and I guess this is a very weak slap, similar to the Ethan Strange shout. Um, Bostock doesn't really offer that upside. He has scored well when he's obviously scored tries and that sort of thing. But as we said, the upside is somewhat muted in fantasy. But I guess the thing is, if you've got him in the team and, he does happen to score well, it's an advantage. If you can cover with other players for the other rounds, so 13, 16, 19, where we sort of do think he offers value, you can trade. But, I'm potentially going to roll the dice and sort of hope he does get us some returns during that period. So that's the tops, the chops, the traps, and the slaps for round 10 of the 2024 NRL Fantasy season. Obviously, if you've got any thoughts or comments, feel free to add them below this video. Give us a like if you enjoy this sort of analysis. Subscribe for all the fantasy sports content on the channel. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.